Hey guys, welcome back. This is Peter from TechSavara, and today we will discuss domain-driven design. And I'll introduce the topic today with the idea of language being the core principle with which we want to help resolve the complexity of software. I know that's a mouthful, so let's get into the details. So there's a channel out there called Continuous Delivery. I have one of his books. It is Modern Software Engineering, and I do still need to read it. But before I get to that one, I want to actually review one book that he has recommended as kind of like the basis from which to start this kind of like journey into becoming a better developer, a software architect. And although I've done a lot of this work already, it's always a good idea to pick up ideas from different places. And this book here, I've actually just started reading it recently. I've tried to pick it up a few times, but I haven't had the chance to really get into it. And one of the things that stands out, and it makes so much sense, and in a recent project when we've been working across boundaries, national boundaries on this particular project, language is a fundamentally important aspect. And it's important for resolving the complexity of software in a way that helps people understand the functionality, the features, the space, the language of what a particular product will do to solve a particular problem. Now, language and ideas are like the fundamental part of the way we see the world, right? So I guess you would kind of see any kind of system first with the language that you should describe it. And if I found that in this project there were certain terms which didn't make much sense to me, and that was like a bit of a warning sign. And so what I did is I spent some time trying to find a better way to describe something within one or two words. A good example would be, something that may have made sense in a particular context. In one particular instance, the specific cases that we wanted to specify something that happens so this is the problem. So what this thing was called was an override, right? But what it really should be called is a priority. Now the reason that it's not the reason is there's a lot of information behind it, but the point is that by spending just a little bit of time in understanding and defining the terminology and the language that we want to use for a particular project, we get a better sense of what it is that we're building as a team, and we also get the terms that we need to describe this to the people that will use the product, the people that will maybe fund it, and the people that will then develop it later on and come in on the project. So a glossary of terms that defines these things is fundamentally important in helping you define the space within which you can work. And it helps then to, when you start building the product, to actually know what it is that you're building, right? So if we had called it some piece of functionality, something that may have made sense in a certain context, but the system changed, we need to adapt and change those terms. The point that I'm getting to is with this domain-driven design, one of the things they talk about is the model. And the model is driven by a language that is shared across the system. And in order to make any system simple, you need some words that people can, relate to and understand. You can't kind of look at zeros and ones and make sense out of that without having context. And this is why human language is really important, having terms to define pieces of functionality. Because that language then feeds into the system from a higher level, right? So trying to define the scope of complexity using assembly or binary is infinitely more complex than if we were using the high level English language, or any language by that matter, right, to define a system. And then from that we can then build a thing in the languages that are used by the actual components and the items that would be required to run the functionality for the user. But as long as we have like these key terms, then things get easier, because when we start from the top down like this, we may not necessarily need the functionality to be specifically built from the top down, but using that language, it makes it easier to understand what it is we're building. And I'm just starting on this journey, and I'm just starting this book. I'm reading a little bit at a time because there is so much to be done, and my goal is to get through this book by the end of the year, which is quite a long time, but still, hopefully by then I can add more value and communicate more ideas to you guys about what I learned from this and how we can all become better engineers, software developers, and build better software. So again, thank you to Dave Farley and Eric Evans for this book and for referring it to me. And yeah, I'll see you at the next episode. Bye.